Good morning, Egyptomaniacs. Today we are going to be learning all about the hieroglyphic writing system. In the ancient Egyptian language, hieroglyphs were actually called Medu, Netjer, and this means God's words. And the carvings, the symbols and the shapes were considered to be magical and imbued with divine power. So you probably already know that some hieroglyphs have a phonetic sound value attached to them. And there are three categories of these phonetic sound value hieroglyphs. There are what are called the uniliterals or the monoliterals, the biliterals and the triliterals. The monoliterals are sound values where one sound is represented, as in b, d, k. And the biliterals are the signs in which two sounds are represented, as in ak or ba, and in the triliterals, three sounds are represented, as in nefer and sma. One important consideration when studying the hieroglyphs is vowel sounds weren't generally written down, even though they were used in the language, and much of what we know about the pronunciation of ancient Egyptian words comes from a later language called Coptic. Coptic was written down using the Greek alphabetic characters, and so therefore the vowel sounds have been written down and recorded. Ancient Egyptian scribes had another system of writing, a shorthand version of the hieroglyphs called hieratic, or priestly writings. Later on, hieratic developed into demotic, or the writing of the people. Demotic developed into the dominant form of writing in the ancient Egyptian world and was used by the people for most business accounts and day-to-day journaling. Demotic is one of the scripts engraved upon the Rosetta Stone, which was the key to deciphering the hieroglyphs. So as you can see, the hieroglyphic writing system is very complex and very interesting, and it takes a lot to learn it really well. So we're going to take it one step at a time and learn about the monoliterals today. Those signs that represent one sound like b, d and k. And we're going to write your name and learn a little bit about what the signs represent. So here are the monoliterals. Let's start with the first one, which is a vulture and has the sound value a. The white vulture was a very common bird in ancient Egypt and was known as a pharaoh's chicken. The next sign is the sign R, and this is represented by an arm and a hand with the palm upturned. And actually this is a really great composition for looking at the way the different hieroglyphs do work together. This is actually the name of the god Ra, and you can see the monoliterals on the left representing a single sound. The R up the top is the open mouth. The R is represented by the hand and arm, and in the middle is the symbol of the sun, which is the god Ra, and on the right is the determinative, which shows a bearded god figure seated. The B sound is represented by a bit of leg and a foot. The K sound is represented by this reed basket, and if you have a K sound in your name, whether it's written with a C or a K, this is the hieroglyph to use. D is this nice hand image. The I sound is a single flowering reed. This is actually another really good example of the way hieroglyphs work. This is the ancient Egyptian word for cat, and on the left you can see the biliteral sign mi, which is represented by a milk jug held inside a reed basket. The flowering reed makes the sound I, and the quail chick makes the sound oo, and on the end is the unsounded determinative sign of a cat. So altogether this word makes the sound mew. F is the sound of the horned viper. The G sound is represented by this pot stand, and this is the G sound that you have at the beginning of words like goat, Gary and gobbledygook. This resting cobra makes the sound J, like jar and Gemma. This piece of twisted flax represents the h sound, and you can also make the h sound with this plan view of a reed shelter, so it's a reed shelter seen from above. The lion is used for the l sound, but there isn't actually a true l sound in ancient Egyptian. This lion sign actually makes a sound a little bit more like ru. Inside this cartouche is the name of the famous Egyptian Queen Cleopatra, and you can see the lion sign used here. So some people believe that Cleopatra's true name in ancient Egyptian would have been something more like Creopadra. It's nice to have a lion in your name though, and here you can see Egyptomaniac Liam using it in his name. I find the sign for M one of the most pleasing signs to draw in hieroglyphs, and the M sound is represented by this beautiful owl. The sign of a single wave of water makes the N sound. The O sound is represented by this lasso, and a long O sound, an oo type sound, is represented by a little quail chick, which is very cute and makes you go ooh. The quail chick is also used for the W sound, as in water, weather, wendy, and whimsical. P is a reed stool. Qu, as in queen, query, and quarrelsome, is represented by this hill or slope. R or R is represented by an open mouth. The S sound is represented by a piece of folded cloth. The sound sh is represented by a swimming pool. It's easy to remember this one, just imagine yourself splashing in a pool. The Z sound is a door bolt. The T sound is a loaf of bread. The Y sound is represented by two flowering reeds. This also makes the E sound. A rope to keep cattle in place makes the ch sound, as in latch, hatch, hutch, pitch. So now you have all of the monoliterals and you should be well equipped to write your name in hieroglyphs. And just remember to follow the right direction. So your characters need to all be facing the right direction. And we always read hieroglyphs into the faces of the animals and the humans that are depicted, okay? So I look forward to seeing your efforts. Goodbye.